Hello?
Hey, Phil. Yo,
Hey,
man.
how you doing?
I'm doing okay under the circumstances. How are you, my friend?
Good. I'm doing good. Can you see me well enough?
I absolutely can. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, you're looking good. You're looking
You
good.
too. You too.
Let's see if I can brighten this up just a touch. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
All right. Bring a little bit more light into the subject.
Okay.
All righty.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good.
Cool. I see the guitars behind you. Is it like a studio room in your house?
Yeah, this is my studio. Let me spin it around so you can see it.
Okay, give us a quick tour. Wow.
There it is.
Cool. Jeez.
And it's a big mess over there. You know, old formats. There's my old Les Paul
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
back there.
Well, I'm not turning the camera out in my
That's all
house.
right.
I've got the Matisse behind me. That's going to just have to do.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. That sounds good. Well, I've got and behind me I've got all these tapes from the old days. You know.
Oh my gosh.
70s and
Wow.
80s, 2-inch
Think of
reel.
that, tapes. Think of remember albums? I mean, I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
do you think the album format is dead and gone, because of YouTube and because of, iTunes, or can people still make a complete statement with the album being an art form?
Well, I think that I've got a real particular fondness for vinyl. I'm not a big audiophile in terms of I don't have a ton of albums, but I've got all the albums that I had made, and I've got classical music, and I've got soundtrack music, and I've got Elvis and Beatles and things that I grew up with, and a lot of 45s. In terms
Still
of
have
like when I was a kid,
45s?
I've got a lot of 45 RPMs. Yeah, I've got an old RCA 1951 automatic changer that they made back in those days.
Oh, right.
When 45 RPM 7-inch records were the new thing.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it works. My brother got it for me at a swap meet out in California, and then a friend up in north of Nashville who works on radios and things like that, he repaired it, and it actually plays. And I've got an old RCA cabinet with a speaker, so I power the speaker with it too. And it's nostalgic, not only because of the music and the memories as a kid, but when that thing starts heating up, I smell it, and it takes me right back to my childhood. You know how the association
Absolutely.
of
Smell
Yeah.
takes you very powerful in terms of
it is
memory.
amazing. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the Beatles and Elvis. Who did you listen to when you were 8 or 9 years old, particularly
Okay.
electric guitar heroes?
Electric guitar heroes. I would say the first electric guitar player that caught my ear was Scotty Moore
Who's that?
from Elvis's group
I see.
from the early 50s and mid 50s. Scotty Moore, Bill Black on bass, and DJ Fontana on drums. And, Scotty doing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that, oh, I'm out of tune. Well, that's got to hurt your ears. But anyway, Scotty Moore. Then there was James Burton, who I used to like to watch on the Ozzie and Harriet show.
My gosh.
He played behind Rick Nelson.
Right,
And,
right.
he played that telly. In fact, here's the telly that we're talking about here
Wow.
for the auction.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I've got
Awesome.
it.
Awesome, awesome.
Thanks to my good neighbor up the street, Brack, who was generous to sell it to me and resell
Well, we
it.
appreciate your generosity. I mean, that's going to be huge for us. Awesome.
It's a great guitar. I've toured with it, and I recorded a couple albums with it, and back in the late 80s, early 90s, So
Reading your bio, Phil, you have recorded a lot of albums.
I have.
About those early days and how the process of recording music has changed. Has it changed for the better? Are there certain aspects of the old days in the 70s when you were recording that you feel, boy, we had it was better back then? Talk to me about the whole recording process.
Well, for me, the recording process was pretty exciting because the first time I actually went into a real studio was with my Youngstown band that I had joined. They were already established. They were called the Squires.
Squires, yeah.
Al Frano, Jim Love, and Bob Flamish. And I was an 8th grader, and these guys were juniors or seniors in high school. They were
Oh my gosh.
considerably older than I was at the
Yeah.
time. And when you're that age, that's a big deal. But I was
No
a very,
question.
very ambitious young guitar player, and we did our first session, and it was a two-sided acetate. One was called Just a Walkin', and the other song on the other side was Rendezvous. And then we did a couple more of those kind of things, recording, and that's the first time I got in a studio, but it was a mono studio back in those days.
Yeah.
And then we did an album that actually was on vinyl called Batmobile, the Squires. And then I joined a group called Batmobile. Then I joined a group called the New Hudson Exit, or the Volume 4, and we changed our name to the New Hudson Exit. And we got on Date Records, and we did a single called Come With Me. And the great thing about that was we recorded in Cleveland, Ohio, at a studio up there for that song. And I was in the 10th grade at that time.
Oh, you were an old man.
I was, I was aging. And, but that was a great experience. And then they had horns on it. And it was kind of like the Buckinghams, if you remember the Buckinghams.
No.
And of course, we were all influenced by, the British groups, Beatles and Bee Gees, and then Yardbirds.
Right.
You were asking me about my heroes.
Yeah.
Electric guitar players. There was Jeff Beck, and there was Michael Bloomfield, and there was Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. The main list,
Right.
The main guys that influenced thousands of guitar players.
Now, you recorded in Hendrix's studio, but it was after he had passed away, right?
It was around the time he passed away, and I think while we were up there doing our first album 50 years ago in New York City, Electric Lady Studios, that's when we got word, I think, that he had passed.
Wow.
While we were up there. And so we never met. But he was a real innovator, an amazing soulful guitar player, actually. Even though he was launching into new areas for the electric guitar, he got his roots. He played for Little Richard.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, and he came out of that whole R&B soul thing. But yeah, he was a very soulful guitar player, and I was influenced by him to an extent. But I got a Les Paul because of Michael Bloomfield. I loved his tone and feeling that he got out of his guitar and amp. So, those were I think it was 16 track by 1970.
Right, that would have been state of the art then.
Yeah, Glass Harp, and recording our 3 studio albums up there. And then we did a live album at Carnegie Hall in 1971.
Awesome.
We opened up for the Kinks.
What was that like to walk into that space?
It was amazing. And I got to play there a couple Christmases ago too.
Oh, wonderful.
All these years later, then I got to play with on a Christmas show with the Keith Getty Irish Christmas. It was beautiful. And a lot of Celtic music. And I did my own little rendition of Silent Night. So, but back then we were opening up for the Kinks, and it was live recorded.
That's
16-track mobile unit, and then through the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was traditional studios, and then I really started getting into home recording about. Actually, I was doing some recording in the mid 80s on an 8-track reel-to-reel machine. Then I got into ADATs, and then Mackie hard drive, then Pro Tools. So I've been doing Pro Tools for about 17 years now.
And you do engineer it yourself, Phil?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, why you don't need a middleman anymore. You learn the software, you're good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go, and I've gotten some really nice recordings, nice sounds, and a lot of my current things that I've done, the guitars especially sound really good. In terms of electric or acoustic or classical, they all have good tones, good mics and a good mic pre, those things help.
Definitely. Let me ask you a question. You know, a
Sure.
lot of people learn to play the guitar,
Uh-huh.
but not everyone becomes a virtuoso.
That's true.
What was the difference? You know, you're considered one of the guitar virtuosi. And what made did you just practice longer? Were you inspired more? What makes somebody like you go that extra mile to become a real virtuoso?
I don't know if I'm a virtuoso, Randall. I've been a little guy that worked hard at what he did, you know. That's how I see it. I can't read a note, as you know, and because we worked together with the symphony, God bless the symphony. But I just, you know, I just love the guitar, love the sounds it makes. I love the expressions that come through other players that have influenced me, you know, from Julian Bream to Joe Walsh and everybody in between, you know, George Harrison, and the names, the list goes on and on and on. And, you know, I'm just an appreciator. First of all, you have to be a lover of music to get good at something as a musician. You must love it, you know, you must feel it in your bones, in your soul. And I do, you know.
I always say, Phil, people don't pick music, music picks people.
Oh,
You get to a certain point where it's like, okay, now that I've had this profound contact with music, I can't do anything else. You feel that way?
I think that's how I've always felt. And my mom used to say to me when I was in the 7th grade, I remember very vividly, she said, "Hey, son, sing for me," you know. And I think she wanted me to sing for her because she loved me, not because I had a great voice. And my guitar playing has been my first voice, I think. And I sing because I think people like to have a song sung to them and to encourage them, to bring memories back, you know, and hopefully good memories. I'm kind of a average singer, and I'm 69 now, and you know, I don't have quite the youthful voice I used to have, but I could still hit a lot of the notes. But my main instrument is my guitar playing, and so I've been expressing myself in deeper ways with my instrument, with the classical, electric, acoustic, mandolin, cello, mandocello, which is a stringed instrument like a bazooka, deeper mandolin, and bass. I love to play bass and fretless bass. So I've done 3 albums with Jeff Johnson, and we're on our 4th now, and it's coming around really beautifully. It's all instrumental. It's kind of soundtrack music. He lives in Washington State, and I live here in Tennessee, and we just send files back and forth. Then ultimately he mixes everything. We join together with our tracks.
These days, that's kind of how it's done. You mentioned your mother. Yeah. You grew up with, do I have this correct, one of 10 children?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And in Hubbard, Ohio, small town in Ohio.
Yeah.
Become a rock star from Hubbard, Ohio.
Oh, boy. I think Dave Grohl is more of a rock star from Warren.
That's true. Another example.
Thing is, I grew up in a big family, and every one of my brothers and sisters, my siblings, they encouraged me with music. They saw me take an interest in guitar. Brother Dave showed me how to play my first chords, bought me my first electric.
Wow.
Mom and Dad always encouraged me, and then my friends in Youngstown, like Del Sinchak,
Johnny K.
Yeah, and Johnny K, God rest him. Men like that gave me such encouragement. Pastor Paul Deere, when he lived there, I don't know if he lives there now, but he a lot of people, and also the bands that I played in, you know, John Safara and Daniel Pecchio, you know, even Steve Markland and John Carazino, we were all Glass Harp mates. And but Daniel, John, and I have remained really close friends over the years, and still make music now and then, do concerts now and then.
That's wonderful.
And yeah. So I grew up with a family. My oldest sister was an actress. In fact, Hubbard gave her the keys of the city.
Oh.
Or the key to the city. How do you say that? But
Yeah.
She played in a lot of movies, acted in a lot of movies, and
Wow.
Ten Commandments was one of them. And
With Charlton Heston? That's it?
yeah, yeah.
Wow, jeez.
She had a speaking bit in that movie.
Wonderful.
So when they find the baby Moses in the basket, all these maids, ladies, young ladies were bathing at the pool. And the one lady, I think Pharaoh's daughter, said, "Look, I think I found something here." And my sister is the one that says, "I'll be sure it's not a crocodile." So silly little line. But she also said, gold will never mend a broken heart. So she had a couple lines in that
That's
movie.
Great.
And she was also, she just passed a few years ago. And
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
she was a wonderful example of a great human being and a beautiful lady. And and now there are 6 of us Keaggy kids left. And so we're all aging. But I've got some older brothers, Youngstown and Hubbard, Columbiana, and they're doing great. So
wonderful.
I send my love to them all.
That's wonderful. I think I met a couple when you performed with us. As a young man, going down the pathway that so many rock artists go, drugs and all kinds of things like that, a very different direction, became a Christian rock star, gospel rock star, things like that. Tell me about that transition. I mean, these days, edgy, has to do with, a lot of profanity, a lot of sexual content and things like that. What pulled you out of that darkness?
Well, I don't know if I really fit the rock star type. I never did. Short, predisposition. What do you call it? Predisposition to be bald. Oh. 9 fingers. Well, Jerry Garcia had 9 fingers too.
Yes.
But, I just never really fit the rock star mold. And I experimented with psychedelics and stuff like that, but I didn't like it and left it behind and embraced my faith, primarily because of my sister's influence and my mother's prayers, most likely. And I found a home with the new music I was making. In fact, after my conversion to Christianity, I still worked with the Glass Harp for 2.5 more years, and we did our albums. And I openly shared my faith with people and sang about it. And I think it also gave me a greater passion as a guitar player, to be able to walk with God, have a sound mind and a freedom and a peace that I had been really looking for. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's wonderful. We talked about your early influences. Who do you listen to now? And who's a current artist in the music scene? Who do you think, wow, I would love to play something with that person. I really enjoy their music. Who the next generation that you admire?
Well, the next generation, there's so many incredible young talented people. I'm a great admirer of the young guitarists who play just amazing, have so much heart and feel, and technically are amazing, like Matteo Mancuso from Italy, and people like him. I tell people about him. You've got to hear this guy play. This kid. He's not a kid. He's probably in his mid-20s now, I think.
To us, that's a kid.
That's a kid. I was just amazed, and I took such delight, in these artists. And so, but I do listen a lot to the music I grew up with. It kind of takes me back to the days when I fell in love with music. So I like that. And then I'm working always on new music sessions. I just finished a project that's on my Bandcamp site called Keaggy's Garage, and it's called Phil Keaggy and Friends. It's duets, and they're all instrumental duets. And there's
nice
23 tracks, 22 artists that I share with. So there's Lawrence Juber, and there's Mariel Anderson. There's Jason Truby. There's Doyle Dykes. Dave Bainbridge of Iona. And there's so many great and talented people. Greg Shoemake, lots of great folks. Friends of mine I've known over the years. And we all just did a track. There's a young lady named Christy Lene. She's an amazing award-winning fingerstyle guitarist. And we just jammed, and I, edited it and mixed it. And it came out really great, lots of fun. David Davidson plays violin. There's a duet with him.
Beautiful.
He plays with the Nashville Symphony and the String Chamber Orchestra. He's a good friend too. And it's got a very Vaughan Williams touch to it.
Wow.
Because I grew up
I love Vaughan Williams.
I do too. I love it.
Let me ask you this, because most of the music that I conduct is instrumental. It's, content without words. Talk about the difference if you're crafting an instrumental solo or if you're actually writing a song. Does it feel different to you, or is it the same?
Okay, now restate that question.
Does it feel different to you when you're writing an instrumental piece, no words, no lyrics,
right?
You're actually writing a song with lyrics?
Yeah, I think the lyrics kind of take the precedence over the instrumental bits. But I must say, like, for instance, I played on a Mickey Dolenz album some years ago, and there's a Harry Nilsson song called Remember, and they gave me a beautiful long section of a solo. And when Mickey heard the solo, when the producer played it for him, they were driving in a car, and he said, "You've got to pull off the road. I just don't want to even move when I listen to the solo." So it was one of those solos that felt really inspired, and it's my wife's favorite solo I've ever recorded.
Wow.
On electric guitar, that is. It has a lot of emotion and feel, and it changes time signatures, every measure, and then it changes key. It's just very complex. The producer, David Harris, did an amazing job arranging that. Vinnie Caluti played drums, Bob Birch played bass, David played the keys, and of course Mickey sang the song. Great. But then I've done stuff like when I played with the Youngstown Symphony, my little overture, which is about a 10-minute song, that was a really highlight for me, to create something that strings would be playing to an orchestra. That was like a dream come true for me. So the very first time it happened was in Nashville, but the first time it ever happened with a full orchestra, it was Youngstown.
Right.
When we played Powers Auditorium.
Right, exactly.
So thank you, Patricia Syack. And
absolutely.
Thank you, Glass Harp, and thank you, Youngstown Symphony, for that great memory.
Thank you, Phil.
Hey!
I wanted to ask, the first time I encountered looping was working with you.
Okay.
Talk to me about, because it's quite an extraordinary technique. What is looping? And tell me about your process as you start to layer up those loops. What are you thinking? Is it completely intuitive? Is some of it planned? Talk to me about looping.
Well, looping is just like playing with a recorder, like Les Paul used to do that with his electric guitar on stage. He would fascinate his audiences by recording a thing. And then on his guitar, he had the buttons and the ability to record on a hidden multi-track tape machine, rewind it, and then play along with it. And it would come out the PA. That was the first time.
Wow.
He's the first looper. He invented multi-track recording too.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I first got my first tape recorder, I think I was in the 6th grade. And my sister Kathy bought it for me. And I would record a part, then I would play along with it,
So you've been looping since the 6th grade?
Yeah, you could say I was. But I actually started using on stage devices that allowed me to record a part and then play along with it or add to it. And that was in I would say probably the late 70s, early 80s, I started doing that.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Way back when.
You've been doing it a long time.
Mm-hmm. And then, so this is a really interesting part of the story. So Chet Atkins invited me to his home to show me his Jam Man, which Lexicon had built. And I think they made it with him in mind. So I played it, and I did a little, I did a little Chet Atkins type of thing, and I did a part over it and another part over it. And he goes, "Phil, looks like this thing was made just for you." And so I went out the next day and I bought one. And so that's when I was able to really develop looping to more of a greater degree. And then I got up to 32 seconds with the device. And then they come out now, you can go minutes if you have to. I don't recommend it, but I have utilized the Pigtronics Infinity Looper, which, is really great. It's got 2 loopers built in one box, and you could do separate parts. And and then I add bass bits by using an octaver and chorus, do some percussion on the guitar, and I'm nervous because I'm on TV. So anyway, I get nervous in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, the looping thing is good, but the thing is, my favorite guitar players don't use looping.
Is that right?
They don't. Yeah. They're the ones I admire the most. The Tommy Emmanuels and the Lawrence Jubers, and guys that just don't need it. But because I travel solo when I do concerts, and I haven't done a concert since March 8th, if you can believe it, because of
I can't believe it. Mine was the last one was March 7th.
There we are. Yeah. So, but when I go out and I do solo, and Bern travels with me, Bernadette, my sweet wife, I've got my box and I got my pedals, and I do my thing, and I try to make as much noise as I can. Nice noise, a joyful noise.
Beautiful noise. Make a joyful noise, as it were.
I hope so, yeah.
Phil, thank you so much. I think that's a perfect place to end. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
Well, I really want to say special thanks to my hometown of Youngstown, Ohio. Hardly a day goes by when I don't think about my roots and the people that encouraged me and influenced me and gave me a chance and gave me a break. And so I just want to say thank you, and I love you all. I do appreciate this interview, and I just wanted to say that, and thanks for keeping interested in my music over the years.
Absolutely. Keep making it.
Okay, I'll try my best.
And we'll be continuously interested. Youngstown is very proud of you, and it's been a joy the couple times that we've had you with the Youngstown Symphony, and I look forward to many more.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much, Randall, and God bless you, and keep strong, keep creative, because you are a gifted man. You really
right back at you, sir.
Okay.
So much love to the family. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thanks so much, Phil. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.